Good morning, children, and welcome back. Today we'll be doing the kingdom fungi. These fungi are eukaryotic, except yeast. All the others are multicellular and also heterotrophic. Heterotrophic either, parasitic. What is their mode of nutrition? How do they feed? They are either saprophytic or parasitic. Children, last week we had heavy rains in Kerala. You know that, isn't it? And if you leave any object or any food material untouched for just 2 days, you can see the fungus starts growing on them, isn't it? So it spoils all kinds of food and all objects on earth, right? Now, besides these, what other influence does it have on our lives? Besides these examples, any other importance that the fungi has got? Yes, the fungi are, yeast is used in bread and bakeries and biscuits and things, isn't it? In your household also you use it while making idli and dosha and all those things, right? And penicillin is the very first antibiotic produced, and it is obtained from Penicillium, which is a fungus. Clear? So many antibiotics are obtained from fungus. Okay, and there are many diseases which are caused by fungus in plants, in human beings, and in animals also. Okay. And about the structure, except yeast is unicellular, that. All the other fungi are multicellular and also filamentous. They are filamentous in nature. Filamentous means, they are, you might have seen in lower class of the bread mold through a lens at least. Okay, you might have seen that they contain many very thin hair-like, fiber-like structures, which are called as hypha or hyphae, singular and plural, right? Hypha. Okay, right. And some of the hyphae are having many nuclei, so they are called as cenocytic hypha. Cenocytic means having multi-nucleated state. Okay, some others may have septate, that is they have cross walls in that, like this. This is the hypha, means they have cross walls like this. Okay, and then it is called as septate. They are called septate. When they have these cross walls, they are called as septate, right? Okay, and also they are multicellular, which means cenocytic. Clear? And you might have already studied the fungi. First were classified under plants because they had cell wall, right? But now they are placed separately and studied separately because they are non-chlorophyllous plants. Okay, and also the cell wall is not made up of cellulose. They are made up of chitin, especially, and polysaccharides, especially chitin and polysaccharides. Okay, now you know that they are saprophytes or parasites. Who are saprophytes, children? They depend on dead decaying matter, and the parasites live on host body or live inside or outside the host body and cause diseases. Okay, and they also exist as symbionts. What are symbionts? Symbiosis, symbiotic association. They live as friends, or they live as they share their mutual benefits. Okay, so what is lichens? What is this association made up of? Yes, it is algae plus fungi, which is also called as lichens or lichens. Clear? Okay, and also it exhibits, or it lives in the big trees, in the roots of big trees, and this association is called as mycorrhiza. What is that? Mycorrhiza. So they may be either symbionts, they are parasites, or they live as symbionts or as mycorrhiza. That is fungi present in the roots of bigger trees or higher trees. Clear? Reproduction. Coming to reproduction, they reproduce by either vegetative method or asexual means by asexual spores, or by sexual reproduction by producing sexual spores. Okay. Vegetative reproduction may be by fragmentation. You know what is fragmentation, children? That is, each filament may split into or just break into pieces, and from each fragment, each segment, the whole of the fungi may arise. Okay. And fission, you know, fission is splitting into two, one cell splitting into two. Okay. And budding, which fungi reproduce by budding? Yes, it will, the yeast. Okay, the yeast is the fungi which reproduces by the process of budding. Clear? And the asexual spores in different types of fungi are the conidia, sporangiophores, and zoospores. Don't get confused by sexual and asexual spores. When we discuss later, you may understand clearly. Okay. So what are the asexual spores, children? They are the conidia. Conidia is born on the conidiophores, that is the mycelium or hypha. Long vertical hypha on top of that, during reproduction, they bear the spores which are called as conidia, and sporangiophores and zoospores. Clear? And sexual reproduction by the formation of sexual spores called as oospores, ascospores, and basidiospores. Clear? These are the various types of vegetative methods: fragmentation, fission in yeast, and also budding in yeast. Okay, and these are the asexual spores produced by different organisms or different types of fungi. For example, these are the conidiospores or conidia. Okay, and these mushrooms produce sporangiospores. Under the umbrella shaped structures, you can find gills like structures. Okay, and on that you can find the spores produced. Clear? And these are the zoospores produced. Now, how does sexual reproduction happen? There is no male and female in fungus, but there is exchange of materials between two hypha. Two vertical hyphae come together, they exchange materials. Okay. Now, the steps in the sexual reproduction are: first, there is fusion of the cytoplasm between the two cells or two hyphas. Okay, which is called as plasmogamy. What is plasmogamy? The fusion of the cytoplasm. Then there is karyogamy, which is the fusion of the two haploid nucleus. N, you know what is haploid and diploid stage? Okay, haploid nucleus, they come together to form 2N. N plus N gives 2N. Okay, right. So this is the diploid state. Okay, and from this diploid state, there is meiosis happening in these cells, and there are spores produced that results in production of spores called as oospores or ascospores or basidiospores and different types of fungi. Right. Now, what are the three steps? First is the plasmogamy, then karyogamy. After that, there is meiosis in that zygote, whatever it is formed. Clear? Okay. And sometimes, children, in some fungi, after fusion of that is the cytoplasm, the karyogamy doesn't occur completely. That is, they come together, but they do not fuse to form 2N. They remain as N plus N for some time. Okay, for a little while, which is called as a dikaryon. Karyon means nucleus. Karyon refers to nucleus. Okay, but it will not directly fuse to form 2N, but it will remain as N plus N, which is the dikaryon state, or it's called as dikaryophase. Clear? Then later it will fuse, and then again there is a meiosis and the formation of spores. Clear? In one of the families you can find such a thing happening, which is called as dikaryon stage or dikaryophase. Clear? Okay. I told no, after dikaryon phase or whatever it is, after formation of nucleus or zygote, there is reduction division happening and the formation of spores. Okay, and the spores are born on certain fruiting bodies or structures which are called as fruiting bodies. In all the 3 or 4 families you're going to study, you can find that they produce different types of fruiting bodies on which they produce or they bear the spores. Clear? The fruiting bodies leading to the formation of haploid spores. Clear? According to the types of spores produced, according to the type of mycelium or hypha, okay, these fungi are classified into 4 types. They are the Phycomycetes, the Ascomycees, the Basidiomycetes, and Deuteromycetes. What are they again? Phycomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes, and Deuteromycetes. Clear? Okay. Now let us see the first family, the Phycomycetes. Okay. Now they are, this fungi always occur only during the rainy season, or wherever it is moist. Moisture is one necessary factor for them. You know that, right? So they occur in aquatic habitat and also on decaying wood, in moist and damp places, or as obligate parasites on plants. And only in this fungi group, the mycelium is aseptate and cenocytic. What is aseptate, children? What is aseptate? That is, they don't have septa or cross walls. All the other groups of fungi have the septum or the cross walls, right? Here they don't have this cross walls, so they are called as aseptate. And cenocytic, what do you mean by cenocytic? Multinucleated condition. Okay, right. And you should know in each of these groups, you should know some examples. Okay, right. So these examples are mucor, the bread mold, the rhizopus, and one of the parasites, the albugo, which is a parasitic fungi on mustard. Albugo. This figure is here. You can see the figure. Okay. And how do they reproduce? They reproduce by asexual method by zoospores. Zoospores, or which can be motile. Zoospores are motile. Motile means can move. See this one. Right. Motile or non-motile aplanospores. We are talking about asexual spores, and we will talk also about sexual spores here. Asexual spores is by production of zoospores, which is motile, and there are aplanospores, which is non-motile. Okay, now they are all born, all these kinds of spores are produced on the the hypha, and at the top there is the sporangia. Okay, the sporangia which produces the spores. Clear? And in sexual reproduction, after fusion of the two hypha, zygospore is produced. What is produced? Zygospore produced. And the fusing gametes may look similar, so it is called as isogamous, or it can be anisogamous or oogamous. Okay, and two gametes are fused, two hyphae get fused, right, and exchange materials during sexual reproduction. You know that, right? And during their fusion, sometimes they may look similar when it is called as isogamous, or it may be anisogamous, which is dissimilar. Clear? Next, we'll go to Ascomycees. You know, these Ascomycetes are examples we can say about yeast, which is unicellular, and penicillium, which is multicellular. Clear? And I told you the hypha is, or the mycelium. What is mycelium now? What is hypha? You know, hypha is a very thin fiber or hair-like structures of their body is made up of this hair-like structures, which is called as hypha, right? A collection of hypha is mycelium. Clear? Okay. Now the mycelium in this case is branched and also septate. I told you, no, all the other groups have septate mycelium or hypha. Okay, and they are saprophytic, of course, they are decomposers, they are parasitic, and also coprophilous. What do you mean by coprophilous? You can see these fungi growing on dung, cow dung, or whatever dung, not only cow dung or other animals' dung also, you can see them growing on the dung. Okay, so now coming to the reproduction. Now you know, by asexually, these fungi, Ascomycetes, reproduce by the formation of conidia. What is that? Conidia. And they are born on the mycelium called as, or the conidiophores. Phores. Conidiophores, sporangiophores. All these are the mycelium or the hypha, on which the spores are born, children. Okay, right. But the conidia is the spores born on conidiophores. Phores, conidiophores. Okay, right. And these conidia, when it will be present in the atmosphere or when it falls on certain substratum, it can grow to the what is that, fungi, whatever fungi. Okay, now coming to sexual reproduction here. Sexual reproduction, the spores produced are, this group is Ascomycetes. So the spores is Ascospores. Okay. Now the Ascospores, how does sexual reproduction happen? By the fusion of the two gametes, the two hypha. After reproduction, after fusion, there is zygote formed. 2N stage is formed. Okay. Now from that, there is fruiting bodies developed. What is that? The fruiting body is called as ascocarp. And on this ascocarp bears sac-like structure. They are called as, that's why they are called as sac fungi. Okay. So on the ascocarp, there are ascus formed. Ascus or sac-like structures. In the sac-like structures only you can find the ascospores. Clear? Right. See, after 2N, after the not dikaryon, after the zygote formation, 2N formation, it undergoes, from that structure, what is formed? Ascocarp, the fruiting body. Okay, and the fruiting body bears sac-like structures called ascus. Right? and on this ascus you can find the ascospores. Clear, children? Okay. Now some other examples of Ascomycetes are, we know the yeast, Penicillium belongs to this group, okay, and there are Aspergillus, Claviceps, Neurospora. Neurospora is used in various biochemical and genetic experiments, used to do many experiments. Which one? The Neurospora. Okay, and some other examples like morels and truffles they are used as source of food, or they are very delicate, very sweet. Even mushrooms you use as food, right? Okay, so some of these in this group, some of the examples of like morels and truffles are used as, buffles, actually it is buffles, are edible. Edible means used as food. Okay, right. Now next group is the Basidiomycetes. Okay, they include the mushrooms and puffballs. These, like these examples, mushrooms and puffballs. Okay, and they grow in soils, on logs and tree stumps, and in living plant bodies as parasites. For example, rust and smut. It causes rust and smut diseases in plants. Okay, right. And this mycelium, as you know, they are branched and septate. Clear? Now coming to the vegetative reproduction. The vegetative spores the asexual spores are generally not found, but they reproduce the asexual spores are not found, but they reproduce vegetatively by fragmentation and other methods. Clear? Okay. And about sexual reproduction, in this group only, in this Basidiomycetes only, you can find the formation of this dikaryon stage or dikaryotic phase. Okay, after this dikaryon is formed, okay, they later again becomes 2n. Definitely within a short while it forms 2n, of course. And from that 2n, there is formation of the basidiocarp. Basidiocarp, which is the fruiting body. The fruiting body, right? And on this you can find the basidium. Okay, and the basidium bears the basidiospores. Clear, children? So what is that? Dikaryon is formed only in this Basidiomycetes group. You can find the formation of dikaryotic phase. Right. After the dikaryotic phase, they fused completely to form the 2n stage, to form the zygote. And from the zygote, they undergo meiosis and finally form the spores. Okay. And the spores are born on fruiting bodies, which is, in this case, what is the fruiting body called? Basidiocarp, which bears basidium. And on the basidium, you can find basidiospores. Clear? Some other examples of Basidiomycetes, the best examples are our mushrooms, right, and puffballs. The other examples are agaricus, mushroom, which is Eustylago, and Puccinia, which causes rust fungus. You should know these names, children. At least the names which is mentioned in your textbook, you should be knowing definitely. Clear? We come to the last type of fungi, which is called as Deuteromycetes. Okay, which is also called as imperfect fungi. Deuteromycetes or imperfect fungi. Okay, now they are also, mycelium is septate and also branched. Clear? Now why they are called as imperfect fungi? Because some of their vegetative or asexual forms is seen or identified in the whole world. Only they show both the forms, right? Sexual and asexual, all the other type of fungi. You have seen both sexual and asexual reproduction. Okay, in this deuteromycete, in these examples, they have found only the asexual phase of the fungi, right? And when somewhere or sometimes when they come across the sexual phase of the same variety, they were placed into, then they can be placed into Ascomycetes or Basidiomycetes or the Phycomycetes. Clear? And unless the sexual reproductive phase is found, otherwise they were kept in a separate group called as the Deuteromycetes. Clear, children? Okay. Now, asexual means, they have reproduced only by asexual means, by asexual spores called as conidia. What are they? Conidia. Okay. And some other examples are the alternaria, trichoderma, colitotrichum. This trichoderma is a parasite on human beings. Even alternaria is a parasite on human being. Clear? Right. So these are the examples of deuteromycetes, which are the imperfect fungi. Clear?